This is McCook's Mr. Bill. It's an honor to have you here. Well, the old Democrats, they had their debate this week, didn't they? Yeah, it was quite a deal. I watched it from beginning to end. Not a Democrat. Libertarian, to be exact, is what I'm signed up as. But I lean to the far right for being conservative and saying that if you've asked a question about the government, it's probably a foolish question. With that in mind, though, the Democrats had an interesting debate, and I don't mind listening to all sides and try, hard to do, but try to keep an open mind. Now, the old Democrats, they even had a guy pay $400 million to get up there on stage so that people could take a look at and hear what a billionaire had to say from the far left. Yeah. And he had a little bit of prestige. He had been a mayor. Be that as it may, the whole bunch of them, they kept saying that Trump was, inclusive and trying to divide the country. But when they passed out their promises of things they'd do, the only two races they talked about was the black man and the brown man. Sometimes they called the brown man a Latino. So those two ethnic groups were the only ones that they promised anything to. I guess they didn't realize that there's a lot of us that our skin is white, that we're on the bottom of the pay scale. I said the bottom of the pay scale, even with working. And I bet there's a bunch of other races, not counting, how about the Native Americans? You think they deserve just a little bit of extra simply because of all the hell they went through? Be that as it may. Be that as it may, they continued to say things like, we're going to give you free health care, free college, free child care. Problem of free is, it ain't. Somebody has to pay for it. Somebody else has to do without or do with less so that those things can be free. There's a lot better way of doing things. And of course, they also said they want a minimum $15 an hour wage. That's a problem too, in my humble opinion. I think minimum wage should be zero. I said zero. A number of nations around the world have it that way, that are up there, not just the bottom of the barrel. There's some pretty powerful nations that have zero wages capable. And what I would like to see this country do, rather than to tax the rich man more, is to simply say, okay, the boss or the owner cannot make over 5 times what the minimum wage earner earns in his business or in his factories, in his business. The boss and or the owner cannot make over 5 times. So if somebody's getting $10 an hour, that means the boss can only get $50 an hour. Now, I don't mind something like that whatsoever. I think that's a good round figure. My thoughts on the subject anyway. And I believe that people that are well-to-do and rich should not get a break when they pay their income tax by not having to pay as much through interest or dividends. I think that's the same profit coming in as it would be as if they had full labor. Their money is working for them rather than themselves, but it's still incoming, and I think all that money should be taxed the same. And just as I believe religion should pay, because when you see these evangelists flying around in, $50 million jets, that's a problem in my humble opinion. In my humble opinion. Somebody needs to be collecting a little bit of tax on that. With that, though, I would point out that all of them fought each other more than they fought Trump. But when they spoke of Trump, they talked of hate. And yet they're trying to say they want to unite the country. But they hate Trump. You see, the way I think the smarter move would have been, though, is to say we want to get over and beat Trump in the next election, but point out he has done a few good things, and he has. Absolutely, he has done some very good things, and he's also done some very foolish things and a few bad things as far as that goes as well. You could point out the good and the bad, And I think a lot of us in the middle would take a second look at you if you did things like that, rather than a one-sided, CNN type of newscast. Yeah. Be that as it may, it was an interesting debate. I'm glad I listened. I like to listen to all sides. How about you? Keep your comments clean, and they stand on Donzi 52.